Good morning from the city of Tiradentes.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mariana. We're going uphill, so we're trying to catch our breath while we're filming and talking also. We are still in the city of Tiradentes, as I mentioned in our previous video. And today we're going to show you the whole city. But what would be the better place to start the video than this place? This is a statue and a little square dedicated to this person, Joaquim José da Silva Xavier, or in French we would say Xavier. Why we wanted to start the video here is because this person, Joaquim Xavier, was later named Tiradentes. I'll tell you all the story later, but just to let you know that this is where the name comes from. It's from his nickname, and the city has just celebrated in 2002 300 years that it has been established, from 1702 to 2002. Now, who is Joaquim Xavier? While we walk, I'm gonna also tell you. He was basically the leader of the movement and the revolutionary movement that existed early and mid 18th century in Brazil. They were the people that actually started the fight with the Portuguese colonial power that was here and had the control over the territory of Brazil. And they were the ones that started to ask for independence, and they wanted to have a republic. So he was one of the leaders of that movement. He was born in 1746 in a little farm near the city of Tiradentes with his family, in his family farm. When he was very young, he lost his mother, and then after that, 2 years later, he also lost his father when he was 11 years old. Because of that, and because the family had debt, they lost the whole farm, and he had to go and start living with his uncle and grandfather, who was actually a dentist. Then he also later on, and as he grew up, he started practicing, even without any proper college education or anything, but back then as a dentist. And he got the nickname of Tiradentes. Tira in Portuguese means to pull, dentes is teeth. So he was called Tiradentes. That was his nickname because back then people could not have crowns and do bridges, do a lot of things that we do these days with our teeth. Back then, if you had a big problem, you would just pull the tooth. So he was the tooth puller, basically. So in 1792, when the authorities found out about his plot, and he was the leader of the revolutionary movement that wanted to be separate from the Portuguese colony, they found him, and at the age of 45, he was arrested, tried, and hanged. After that, they even cut his body in pieces and brought here in where it is now called Tiradentes, this city, and they buried pieces of his body all around the city to scare everybody and to make this as an example for everybody else that wanted to do the same kind of movement and start a separatist movement here. So this was the history and what happened, and in his honor, and due to the fact that in Brazil he is considered a national hero, they have named the city after him, and the city is called Tiradentes. Also, being a national hero, in Brazil a big branch of the police is military police, or Polícia Militar. And they say they have symbolized it like this, that Tiradentes is the patron of the military police in Brazil. Another interesting fact that is worth mentioning is that the movement that then Tiradentes became the leader of that movement. Originally it started because they wanted to fight the high taxes that were imposed on people at the time by the crown, by the Portuguese crown. So they were fed up with paying a lot of high taxes, and they started this movement. The city also was part of the gold rush that happened in Minas, so that's why it is extremely rich also in terms of colonial architecture and a lot of beautiful churches, one of them being this one. This church is called Igreja Matriz de Santo Antônio, and the architecture is beautiful. I believe even inside it's really nice. Let's see if we can get in. Okay, so this one, because it is very important to come and see, we paid. You have to pay 7 reais for this one, and then there is another one, Church of Rosario, that if you would pay both together, the ticket would be 10 reais. So I paid 10 reais just for one person, just for me to come inside and film and show you guys the design and the church. And I'm gonna tell you a little bit about the history as well. In English, the translation of the name would be the Mother Church of Saint Anthony, and this is one of the main Roman Catholic churches that is located in Tiradentes. It is also considered one of the masterpieces of Baroque architecture in Minas Gerais. The construction of the church started in 1710, and it took them almost 100 years to finish the church. In 1810, they finished the construction. So as you can see, there is so much detail and painting and design. The ceiling, the columns, all the walls that even now they are on renovation, some of them. If I'm not mistaken, I read somewhere that apparently in this church there is more than 400 kilograms of gold that has been used. As you can see here, it's evident because, as I mentioned before, also this part of Brazil and the state of Minas Gerais at some point was highly involved in the period of the gold rush that happened in Brazil. And the design, it just starts here, but even on the wall you see there's painting and the ceiling, and it goes the whole way to the back, and it's just amazing, all the details. Might think that 100 years was a lot of time and a lot of effort, but the amount of details and the architectural characters that the church has, it's just amazing. And then it kind of explains why it took almost 100 years to complete. So one street under where we are at the Rosario Church. Basically we were up there And now we are down here to go see this one that we also bought a ticket for. I'm gonna go inside. The history behind this church is that at the time, unfortunately, in the beginning of the 18th century, the slaves could not go to the other church that was actually the main church of the city. So they built this one for themselves so they could go and practice. And you can see in the design of the church, there are a lot of also elements from the African religions. But the history is that basically it was built by the slaves who could not go to the main church. They were not welcomed and they had to come here. So as you can see, interior of this one is still beautiful, but much simpler than the other one. So to explain to you also a little bit more about the history, the movement that Tiradentes was the leader of, it was called Inconfidenza Mineira. And a little bit of history behind that is that the Brazilian gold rush started in 1690s almost. Tiradentes was born in 1746, so a little bit less than 100 years after the gold rush. And a few years later, when he became older, the gold rush was done. So people, economically, they were not making as much money as they used to. But the crown at the time, the Portuguese crown, was still collecting taxes, and even though the economy was not doing well, he even increased the taxes. So people were fed up. They were not making that much money, but they still had to pay high taxes. Therefore, they started this movement that Tiradentes was actually the leader of the movement. Also, the flag of the movement was, I will put it on the screen so you guys can see. It's just a red triangle and it has words around it in Latin, which translates to liberty, even delayed. Like even if it's delayed, we still want our liberty. And that flag nowadays is actually the flag of the state of Minas Gerais. So this is kept as the flag of the state to commemorate all the movement and that happened back then in order to get independence from the Portuguese colonial rule. And by the way, even after the death of Tiradentes, it took still decades until Brazil was independent and they could finally start ruling themselves and get rid of the Portuguese colonial rule. For lunch, we decided to come to this restaurant called Mesquita, which means mosque. It is a Lebanese restaurant. They have a lot of goodies that we really miss after a long time. So we're gonna order something to just refresh our taste buds. We went with the option of meze, and the meat option. They have vegetarian option too. Since we are carnivores, we went with the meat option. That it has different dishes, typical, like lebne, hummus, tabbouleh, and then there is like meat, kafta and filet mignon. And we also ordered a portion of our favorite salad, fattoush. So let's see how good it is. Lebanese food in Tiradentes. This is the trio of the starters. I believe this is labneh, hummus, and baba ganoush, which is with eggplants. And they also put some pieces of pomegranate on top that I absolutely adore, with pita bread, and it's warm. The fattoush salad came too, looking very good and promising. So obviously fattoush is already gone, and then the next items are kibbeh and falafel. This I believe is a couscous salad, and this one is garlic. And this is the plate of meat. Kofta and filet mignon. Lunch was done. 2 drinks, the salad, and the main dish with 10% service fee was 350 reais. Now let's face to the main square of the city where all the action happens. So this square is called Largo das Forras. Basically it is the main square in the city where all the action happens. All around it there is restaurants, coffee shops, souvenir stores, and sometimes also they have stages. Friday and Saturday that we arrived. Today is Sunday, and that's why it's very busy. But Friday and Saturday when we came here at night, there was live music at the stage. There is always a lot of action happening. As you can see, there is also the horse carts. If you want to take the horses also, that they will take you around the city and show you all of the most important touristic sites in the city. All around the city also, while you're walking, you see just beautiful cobblestone streets with a lot of colorful designs, metal work, the doors, the facade. And then there are bridges like this one, and the water that is going by. I would say this square is the focal point of the city. Basically everybody comes here to hang out, to grab a bite, to grab a drink, and it's very lively, especially today because it's a Sunday. Another one of the main attractions in Tiradentes is this street, which is one of the main streets. It's called Rua Direita, and this is actually where you will find the second church that we visited, Rosário church at the end of it, and then one street parallel to this street on top you have the main church, which is the church of Antônio. This street specifically is also typical of colonial style streets. Even the stone on the ground, they kept it the same, so they keep the authenticity of the place. A lot of stores here are restaurants, coffee shops, and it's just a cute little street which matches the rest of the city. Another interesting fact is the city has a little bit over 10,000 inhabitants. So you see, compared to São João del Rei, it is much smaller in terms of even population. And in the distance you see it is completely surrounded by beautiful, very, very dense, lush green mountains that go almost around the whole city. At the end of the street called Rua Direita, you will also find a museum that is kind of like a religious museum. It's called Santana Museum, which is this building. And right across this building is the Church of Rosário. Another interesting fact to mention is the name of the city comes from the person who was called Tiradentes in his honor, as I mentioned in the beginning. But originally the city was actually called Vila de São José do Rio das Mortes. So that was the name of the city, and it used to be a village. But then after, in the honor of Tiradentes, they changed the name of the village, and this became the name. Also during the gold rush, a lot of people came here, and it became a city. But unfortunately, after the gold rush period finished, also the city economically was negatively impacted, and it went down again until when the business of coffee again lifted the economy of this region and Brazil. Another famous structure here is this fountain called Chafariz de São José, which was built in 1749 and is still a point for all the tourists to come here and to visit, and adds one more beautiful structure to the city. This fountain is basically where the whole city would come to take their drinking water from at the colonial time, and as you can see, there's also a sign 1749, which is the year that it was built. So this was our video for Tiradentes. We were here only for 2 days, so we really tried to show you as much as we could. We hope you enjoyed it. We will see you in the next one. Bye for now.
Bye.